Greetings, everybody. It's the 22nd of February. This is week 4 that we're wrapping up of the Trump-Musk regime that we're in. Something very... We reached a very... Two days ago, on Thursday, we reached a very monumental place of great danger. I'm getting to it right now. And it is the nomination of Kash Patel. He is now, as I am speaking, the director of the FBI. And his agenda, all the stuff before that we've seen with Elon is a prelude. It's going through the government and making it less effective, breaking it. That's one thing. But this man is very different, and I was really starting to think by last week that he was going to get in. He's a very different person, and this could have all gone differently if one vote had been different in either the composition of the Senate or one Republican had made a different decision. But nope, Hegseth went through and they got the memo and they fell in line. And shame on them. But in any case, Patel's agenda is to turn the FBI, which is an organization that currently exists that he controls. It would probably mostly be different people, but the structure would be similar, I'm sure. And the technology, the equipment would be the same. I don't know if they know how to operate it. This is one of the main things that might save us in the end. I have not. I will look. I will read the Project 2025 rosters for you again. But I do not believe that they have, like, what I expected of Project 2025 originally is that they would have, waiting in the wings, an entire, a scale model of the U.S. government built up through a network of interns and former members training other people and people that left and current members of the government that are Trump supporters and blah 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 blah, on and on and on. All sorts of different methods that they would have by the time the 20th came, that they would have a scale model of the entire US government of Trump loyalists. And I'm not sure that they have that. These people may not know how to use the full powers of the FBI. But it's a tremendous danger. Again, his mission is to turn the FBI into a secret police force. And that is tremendously dangerous for all of us. And so, but this was a major milestone. Honestly, if this is the moment sometime around this when we're moving into a coup. That institution, the FBI, by the way, is relatively well set up. It's as well set up as it could possibly be, other than by not having Kash Patel at all. Its acting director, which we were able to keep in there for a fairly long time as Democrats, and that's something that we should be proud of. I'm not an orthodox Democrat, but as people against Trump, we should all be very proud that we were able to keep him out this long and keep the acting director in. And he was a folk hero, and he really laid a lot of the groundwork for passive resistance inside of the organization. And we'll see how effective that is. How many people are they going to get rid of? How many people are they going to keep? But there's going to be all kinds of passive resistance. And that could slow things down. I doubt that it will stop them, though. So, like, this is real now. Like, this is no longer, oh, they're going to burn the whole government down and we're going to be able to rebuild it in 2029. We're not going to be able to rebuild it in 2029 if Kash Patel gets his way. His goal is to have something like what existed in the Soviet Union or Ba'athist Iraq, or North Korea, where today, where you take the poster down or you get dirt on the poster of the portrait of the president and president for life, and you get dragged out and either killed or sent to a labor camp. That is what Kash Patel wants to do. Seriously. And so, given that this is real now, like we're dealing with a real authoritarian threat, and it's more likely, it is blatantly more likely that we will perish than that we'll live. What do we do now? Because I still don't believe that we're going to perish, but it's more likely. So what do we do now? Apart from ask philosophical questions. So for one, starve the beast. For elected representatives, if there are any of them listening, that means shut down the government. I have asked both Hakeem Jeffries and my representative, and my own representative. I have asked both of them to shut down the government. That's what that means for elected officials. Shut down the government. The Republicans are not going to agree on a budget. The government will shut down unless Democrats defect. You need to call Jeffries, and I have a script from last week's video. I might post it in my community page as well. You have to, and your own personal senator, and ask for them to advocate to everybody else that we need to have the government shut down, because that is, I do not want funding to be directed to an organization whose goal is to turn itself, because that's the goal at the top, is to turn itself into a secret police force. A secret police force is unimaginable. It's likely the end of mankind, because it would be the end of American democracy. We wouldn't have an election in 4 years, unless there was some kind of violent resistance. But that would suck, and I don't want to have to do that. It is unimaginable. It is a threat to our very existence. We cannot allow a secret police force. A secret police force is the difference between Hungary. Hungary doesn't have a secret police force. I would love to be Hungary. A great leader could take Hungary right out of Orban's hands, using his own rules. A great leader, a truly great leader that deserved of a people that came close to deserving it, would be able to take Hungary right out of Viktor Orban's hands and be able to refurbish it into a beautiful democracy, vibrant democracy, and one of the greatest countries on earth, learning all of the lessons of why it fell apart. A great leader would be able to do that, that was able to consolidate both of the whole political spectrum, other than the Orban loyalists. They'd be able to do that. I would love at this point to be able to only be as bad as Hungary in the United States. That is something that I would love, but that is entirely unlikely with Kash Patel in charge. It is entirely unlikely. And so, what we have to do as regular people, other than pressure our elected officials, and as elected officials, you can shut down the government. As regular people, we do, in a way, in a roundabout way, have the ability to shut down the government by not buying things, by having mutual aid amongst ourselves, by making mend and make do, which is something that we're good at in my family, and we don't buy things whenever we can. By withholding our money from the economy in general, what we can do only with with essential things, so that only the very essential things, like staying in touch with our children, food, water, and electricity. And yes, I'm not crazy for saying that that's essential to. Like, it is essential to those children that we stay in touch with them. But other than that, because they will have their lives damaged if we don't put effort into them and love. But other than the basic essentials, among which I include caring for our children emotionally as well, but not necessarily buying stuff. Other than that, we should withhold our money from the economy. And if we can do that, that will mean less tax revenue. It'll mean a recession. It'll mean less tax revenue. And that will mean that it will be a lot harder for them to fund things like Kash Patel wanting to do a vanity project of creating a secret police force, and having that secret police force do all kinds of things right out of North Korea or Ba'athist Iraq, like the Stasi. We don't want that. And we can stop that by withholding money from the economy. Especially from companies that are on board with this agenda directly. Airbnb is a good example. They have a relationship with several of Elon's companies. And I wish that we could do it with our cell phone plans as well, for the same reason. T-Mobile in particular is doing business with Starlink. Disgusting at this moment. I love satellite internet as much as anybody else, but it's disgusting that they're doing it now. So there needs to be a lot of disobedience in these organizations, and we're making progress in these protests. We're starting by establishing a record that we're there and we're willing to go out in the cold, and it's going to continue, hopefully. We have to get, if they don't listen, which they won't, we're going to have to, over time, move towards nonviolent resistance, which sucks in a lot of ways, and a lot of the people involved in that will go to prison, and we'll have to accept it. Like, if they're above the law, in a very real sense we're above the law, they can send us to prison in the same sense that a gangster can lock you in their house and do things to you because they have the force to do it. But it doesn't make anything that they do to us legal. And there are organizations advocating for people to walk off the job in general across a variety of industries, and that is technically illegal, but again, they're not respecting the law either. So that is something that we should be paying attention to. And so I don't know if we'll be able to do it. We'll have to. This is not. We've had a lot of time bought for us, and I'm grateful for that. And Saddam was able to destroy his democracy within 6 days, and we have had a lot of time bought for us. But like they're moving towards outright disobeying court orders, more so than they ever have before, and there's no way that we can, within the system, fix that. It's going to require actual activity outside of government if they actively disobey court orders, and they're respecting them less and less. So, another thing I'm going to bring up is the destruction of several federal electricity boards in various states. I would recommend that the states themselves take this over. Like, I would recommend that blue states try to offer funding or something like that, or form a compact in order to take care of their own electricity. And if you're in one of these western blue states, this is happening in the West right now, which is vulnerable because they depend on centralized hydropower and other sorts of power much more than the rest of the country. You should call up your state elected officials, governor, senator, representative. You should call up your state elected officials and ask them to form a compact. And if this compact is formed, just dare the federal government to stop them at this point, because electricity is necessary. And like, I was wondering how long it would be. I've been wondering for a while, how long would it be before we could stop taking electricity for granted after this man got into office? And I suppose the answer is now. And so we really have to use what we have, and we have an electrical grid and a transportation system right now. They're far from perfect. We need to use what we have, and if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. And it's going to eventually come for us as well on the East Coast. If they can prove that electricity can be weaponized against people that disobey, and areas that disobey, then they will eventually roll that out across the whole country. And wouldn't that suck? That would really damage our ability to resist. So we have to use it, and if we don't use it, we'll lose it when it comes to our electricity. And so the final thing is that these people, they're idiots. And I expected they would be, but I could not imagine how dumb they have been so far. It's one of the main reasons why we still have a chance. And I mean, Trump was stupid enough. He was stupid enough. He was stupider than Caesar when Caesar was acting this way after he won his civil war. He was stupider than Caesar. Caesar had the dignity when he was offered a crown in what was most likely a staged event. He was wearing a purple robe, which was the robe of royalty, and somebody offered him a crown, and he gave the guy the middle finger and said, "Get the fuck away from me." He had the dignity to do that and the intelligence to do that. He wanted to soothe his people. Trump, and I suppose he said, oh, I never said that about his dictator comments originally on the 20th. And now he's putting up pictures of himself with a crown and he's saying, long live the king. He's so stupid. He is just ridiculously stupid. I think that's one of the reasons why there hasn't been more violence, even as early as the 6th, when the certification happened. Why there hasn't been as much violence as there probably could have been, as could have been justified, I suppose, depending on what he wanted to do. And we're seeing now that it probably would have been with Patel. But we haven't seen that much violence because people have priced in the fact that he is a complete moron. He is putting up pictures of himself with a crown. He's letting Elon do all of his homework for him, which is a disaster for his approval rating. It is a disaster for the entire authoritarian project because people are associating the authoritarian project with Elon instead of with their beloved cult leader. It's all kinds of things that he's doing that are stupid in that respect. Kash Patel was a smarter decision than most of them from an authoritarian perspective, and that's why he's so scary and he is in there. And I want to, these people that are in the FBI right now, they are going to need to burn this organization to the fucking pardon my French, ground. They are going to need to destroy as much as they can so that these Project 2025 people can't get it, and they are going to need to study the Project 2025 people and make sure, and I'm going to be doing that for a lot of you, but I'm going to be up here with a week unless that I need to do something as an emergency. We are going to need to study the Project 2025 plan and see how much competence do these people really have so that we know how we can make it as difficult as possible. And this is really for all federal workers, especially people that have control over guns and weapons. We are going to need to make sure that it is as difficult as it possibly can be for them to weaponize these organizations and use them against the American people. And we're going to have to, that's just something that we're going to have to do. And so, but it's, these people are not smart. They're not they're not omniscient. They're actually quite weak. The fact that we're weaker than them and we voted for them and we didn't want to really live anymore collectively is not like that we're weaker than them, but they're pretty weak too. They're very cocky. People that they are factoring in our weakness so much they might just be overestimating it. People like Elon and especially Curtis Yarvin are doing that. It is quite miraculous how dumb they are. Honestly, they may have very well gotten weaker. Certainly Trump himself has. The whole movement may have gotten weaker all in all since 2020, which is an absolute miracle. And it's why those things that buy us time, we need to be grateful for them and treasure them and use them, even if they're not permanent. And the Biden term was one of them, and on a smaller scale, this delay of Patel was another one. We need to use crap out of these things. So, like, we lost. So the final analysis on this whole thing is we lost. Like, Patel should have never gotten in. Many of the people that told me that told me not to give up, that told me and all of us in general not to give up on life and on politics. One of the reasons we were told was to fight these nominees, and we lost that fight. And I'm glad we were able to drag it out. This is slower than I expected, but I'm not going to deny that this was an enormous defeat. Rick Wilson has openly said this is an enormous defeat. It is. We need to figure out how to survive after this. Maybe stupidity will save us. I doubt that it will in the case of Kash Patel. He was the worst of the two people with control over arms, worse than Hegseth, because he is actually somewhat smart. He has that tactical knowledge. I don't know how smart he is. We should probably all figure out his weaknesses. One thing that I will advise you, if you write about this man in the future, if you write about this administration, try to use accented letters from Spanish or from Nordic languages. Try to use those. This is one of the last things I'll tell you. If you don't remember anything from this, remember this. Try to use those accented letters. It will make it harder, as much as you can, it'll make it harder for text detection tools, if things get bad, to come after you. It will make them take longer. They might eventually come for you anyway, but they will take a lot longer, and that will be time that you can use to do other things and try to have civil resistance or sabotage campaigns and things like that, if it comes to that, if they are that lawless. So we have to keep our digital hygiene, and one of the things about that is that we should try to limit our use of things that could get us caught. We should have been doing this for a long time. I think I've already told you about this, but this is case in point as to why we need to. And so that's what we can do. We can research, we can know what we're up against. If we're in these agencies, we can slow roll and sabotage and burn stuff down. I think that the intelligence people, for the sake of Ukraine and all of our allies, should do this as well, now that Gabbard is in place. And that happened last week. And we just have to go along with the understanding that this is not going to blow over. This is going to be something that is actively fought, or it's going to win. And wouldn't that be a shame after all of the miracles that we've had? Wouldn't that be a shame? And so, prove Curtis wrong. Prove the people that think that you're too weak. Prove them wrong. And do what's necessary. Peaceful, ideally. Do what is necessary. And I will see you next week. I'll see you actually tomorrow or Sunday with my video studying the paper. And God bless you all. Be strong. Prove them wrong. Prove people like Curtis wrong. We are not. We might be weak, we're not as weak as they think we are. We're not so weak that somebody like Curtis Yarvin can send us to camps, all of us poor people, beautiful people, many of whom didn't want to live, many of whom voted in a way that is in accordance with that, but I still love them all. And people like us as well that didn't vote for that. Uh, all of us beautiful poor people, we are not so weak that we're going to let them grind us up, that we're going to let them replace us with AI and use us as fuel, turn us into waste, into biological protoplasm, the things that he has said. Prove them wrong. Prove them all wrong. God bless you. And I'm doing this at 1 in the morning, which is why I sound so weird. Because we have a big day helping get this space more reasonable, more comfortable. It's a new place that I moved to. I'm not going to tell you about it. Could be anywhere in the country. Anyway, I got a big day tomorrow. My roommate's is off, so we can work together. God bless you all, and I will see you on tomorrow or Sunday with the paper, with a reading from the paper, and I will see you next week with the news, unless an emergency happens. Bye, everybody.